If you use the default template, the choices that you have for phasing properties on both the Properties palette for elements and Properties palette for views will be somewhat limited. If you want to add new phases to your project, you go to the Phasing dialog. So I'm in a project here called Phasing New, and I'm going to go to the Manage tab. And on the right-hand side here, I'll click the Phases button. Now we're going to focus on the Project Phases tab for now. And the list of phases that are already in the project are shown here, and they're in the order that they occur in time. So past occurs at the top and future down at the bottom. So you need to be mindful of that when you decide to insert new phases. You can insert them before or after the selected phase. So you have to be careful to select the phase that you want to insert them adjacent to first, and then decide whether it should come before or after that selected phase. So in this case, I'm going to select New Construction, and I'm going to click the After button to add a phase after the new construction. Now, it suggested the name Phase 1, which is probably not a great name, so you can click right on it to rename it, and I'll call this Phase 2 New, and then I'm going to select this one and rename it Phase 1 New. Now, optionally, you can click over here and add a description if you like. That would only show here in this dialog, so I'm going to skip that for now. But what I've got is a two-phase new construction now, Phase 1 and Phase 2, and of course my existing I left alone. Let's click OK. Now, back here in the model, if I select some existing object that was already assigned to a phase, what you'll notice is, because I renamed new construction, that's already taken into account here. Revit will take care of that for you, so you're not going to end up with some orphan phase somewhere. Now, the next thing I want to do is get my model matching my intent. I'm going to build a new addition over here on the right-hand side. This portion of the building is existing. And then this little addition that's already here, we're going to demolish. So I need to set all that up, and we're going to go through those steps right now. The first thing I want to do is talk about how you might be tempted to just simply select all of this with a big crossing window. And the trouble is that you get over here and you look at the properties, and all the phasing properties have disappeared. Now, that's not the case if you make a slightly less aggressive selection. So what's the cause of that? Well, it turns out that there's two different issues going on here. So let's start with the inserts here and here that automatically created their own infills. This one created an infill here because it's being demolished and it has to fill in the wall. And then this one created some automatic demolition here because when that window gets added, it's demolishing an existing wall. Those two objects have to be modified separately. If you select them by themselves, the phasing properties appear. You can select them with the Control key together and the phasing properties appear. But as soon as you add in a third object, then it starts to get a little dicey here. So I'm going to do these two first and come down here, and I want to say that they're existing construction and they're being demolished in the Phase 1 new phase. So we take care of those like that. Then I'm going to select the remaining portions of the addition and set those the same way. They're created in existing and they're demolished in Phase 1 new. And so now the addition looks like that. Now, again, I'm ready to kind of make a window around all of this, but once again, I get a problem over here. The phase parameters do show this time, but they're grayed out. I can't modify them. Well, here we have a separate issue. The problem is the curtain wall over here. If I highlight this dashed line right here, that's the curtain wall called storefront. You can't change the nested panels and mullions in a curtain wall to a different phase than the parent curtain wall. So what we have to do is go to Filter, and we're going to uncheck all of the nested components, curtain panels, grids, and mullions. Now, when we click OK, it's still showing this because there's still this door panel selected here. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down and remove that from the selection as well. And now the phase parameters become available. Notice the parent curtain wall is still selected. So I'm going to change this to existing, and we're not going to demolish it because we're keeping this portion of the building. And notice now that not only does the overall curtain wall turn gray, but all of the nested components do as well. So when you have a curtain wall object, you have to change just the parent, and it will take care of all the subcomponents. And when you have these automatically generated infills, you have to deal with those separately. All right, so now that I've got the existing building looking the way I want, I'm going to go to the Architecture tab, and I'm just going to kind of put a building over here for new construction. And I'll just sort of draw a simple little rectangle like so. And maybe add a couple doors or something to it. It's not really that important what I draw over here, okay? But that's all new construction created in Phase 1 New. So when you need to add additional phases to your project, you simply go to the phasing dialog on the Manage tab and select the phase where you want to add and make sure you're adding either before or after the existing phase. Then you just come back out and select the objects in your model and assign them to the appropriate phase.